guys, what's going on? It's MassiveJoes Raw Review, and I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Awesome Raw Review for the viewers at home today on an all-new stim-free, pump-focused pre-workout from makers of the world-famous Disorder, our good friends at Faction Labs. It is, of course, Bulge in the house. Let's get straight into it, show you guys exactly what's in it, tell you exactly what it's going to do. That nutritional information panel is not bad, good size, but a little bit too small for us to get it done. We're about to go balls deep in this here Faction Labs Disorder Bulge. Luckily, big ass nutritional information panel appearing on screen so you guys can play along. Let's start from the top. We have ourselves 40 scoops per tub, 20 serves. So it can either be a 1 scoop serve or a 2 scoop serve. For the purposes of going balls deep, we're going to consider the 2 scoop serve, which means there's 22 scoop serves per tub. In what you guys are seeing at the moment, which is the Red Russian flavor, a 2 scoop serve is 25 grams. I'll talk about the unflavored in a second, because let's just start there. 25 grams in a 2 scoop serve of the flavored version, of which 21.265 grams of actives spread across 9 active ingredients, which means in the flavored version, we're talking about 85% actives, 15% non-active. So those are your colors, your flavors, your sweeteners, your stabilizers, and all that non-active ingredient thing going on. In the unflavored version, which is the blue tub, so it's a different color tub, the serving size is 22 grams. So comes down significantly. There's no flavors and colors. And we're dealing in the unflavored with 97% active ingredients. So only 3% of your stabilizers in there, no flavors or colors, obviously, in the unflavored version. In terms of what the 9 active ingredients are made up of, as always, guys, link is down below in the description box to our Supplement Simplified articles if you want to take a deep dive into any of the ingredients I'm about to group together and talk to you guys about with regards to the 4 effects that we generally look for in stim-free pre-workouts. Effect number 1 is going to be muscle pumps and improved blood flow, and therefore increased nutrient delivery to working muscles is really what it's about. Effect number 2 is muscle power. Effect number 3, muscular endurance. Effect number 4, mental focus and elevation in mood. That whole nootropic piece going on over here. Let's start with effect number 1, muscle pumps, improved blood flow, increased nutrient delivery. We have in this Faction Labs Bulge a massive dose of L-citrulline, which of course is a precursor to arginine, which in itself is a precursor to nitric oxide. Above clinical dose of L-citrulline, we also have a massive dose of glycerol, what would be considered an above efficacious or above clinical dose of glycerol in there as well. So we're getting a little bit of a tag team here of boosting nitric oxide through the arginine pathway with the L-citrulline and hyperhydrating muscle cells, and therefore improving cell volume and muscle pumps as a little bit of a side effect from the glycerol. So we get a tick for effect number 1, muscle pumps and improved blood flow, increased nutrient delivery. Effect number 2, muscle power. We have a full clinical dose of the creatine monohydrate in the 2 scoop dose, 5,000 milligrams. That's going to put a whopping tick right next to muscle power. Of course, creatine, a precursor to ATP, which is what our body uses for energy when it comes to moving that lightweight like bags of feathers, baby. Effect number 3, let's dive straight in there. Muscular endurance. We have a couple of ingredients that are gonna help us out with this effect here. The first one is taurine. We have a whopping dose of taurine in here, 3,000 milligrams. Taurine is gonna help primarily with electrolyte balance, which therefore helps with muscular endurance, a little bit of muscle pumps as well, but primarily muscular endurance is what we consider taurine to have a substantial effect on. We then also have a couple of electrolytes. So we have sodium in the form of Himalayan pink salt, which is actually going to yield in a 2-scoop serve 190 milligrams of sodium. And then we also have potassium in the form of potassium chloride, which is going to yield 140 milligrams of potassium. So we've got some electrolyte balancing going on here that is going to support muscular endurance. That being said, it's pretty difficult to give a full tick for just electrolytes when it comes to that particular effect. So I'm going to go a quarter of a tick. So right, 2.25 out of 3. And then the fourth effect, mental focus and elevation in moods. We have a whopping dose of L-tyrosine in here. L-tyrosine, a precursor to L-dopa. L-dopa, a precursor to dopamine, which is going to have us feeling all kinds of nice while we're training in the gym. That's really going to give us a massive tick next to the elevation in mood, nootropic effect. So far as mental focus is concerned, there aren't any ingredients that touch on that. So we're going to have to go probably half a tick there. So we're at 2.75 out of 4 in terms of ticks for the 4 effects that we look for in stimulant-free pre-workouts. I will also add, there's some vitamin C in this formula and the pepperin black pepper extract, which is just going to help with the absorption of all of the other active ingredients. In terms of what this formula is missing here, guys, listen, let's go through the effects one by one and what we could, in an ideal world, add to this formula, and we'll talk about the effects of this particular formula as it stands a little bit later on. When it comes to the muscle pumps, improving blood flow, increasing nutrient delivery, probably the biggest gap here is nitrates. Because that's going to help boost nitric oxide through a different pathway, nitrates, nitrites, nitric oxide, which operates synergistically but independently of the arginine pathway. So it'd be great to see some nitrates in here. And then in terms of direct vasodilation, some Vaso-6, some Vinatrox, any of those sorts of ingredients that actually directly increase vasodilation and directly assist with improving blood flow and nutrients delivery would be nice. And then finally, something to prolong the pump, some agmatine or some norvaline or something to make sure that that massive dose of citrulline that's boosting nitric oxide through the arginine pathway hangs around. So those pumps are sticking around and make you feel all swole for your entire workout and then a little bit after as well. When it comes to the muscle power, this is very well covered by the whopping dose of creatine monohydrate, but it would also be nice to see some other kind of unique ingredients. Betaine as a precursor to creatine would be cool. Elevate-ATP, Peak-ATP, something else in there to help boost that muscle power. That being said, you're going to get pretty much all the way there with a massive dose of creatine monohydrate like the Bulge already has. When it comes to muscular endurance, this is probably the biggest hole in this formula when it comes to those effects that we look for in stim-free pre-workouts. We really need to see some beta-alanine in here, some PCO2 in here, some creatinyl phosphate in here, any sort of ingredient that is going to directly buffer the accumulation of fatigue toxins, hydrogen ions, lactic acid, those sorts of things, so that we're able to train harder for longer, get more reps, stimulate more muscle growth, burn more calories, depending on what our goal may be. And then finally, the fourth effect, mental focus, elevation in mood. The elevation in mood is covered off by that huge dose of tyrosine. We probably don't want anything else to boost mood because it does kind of become a little bit of a bell-shaped curve. But when it comes to mental focus, there's a lot of room to work here. Some sort of choline in there, combined with some amount of huperzine A to stop the breakdown of the increased acetylcholine would really help with mental focus. And obviously that is missing from this formula. That being said, 2.75 out of the 4 effects that we look for in complete stimulant-based pre-workouts, and it does hit a couple of those effects very, very well, and we'll talk about that in a second when I tell you guys my real-world experience. But before we get there, infamous MassiveJoes taste and mixability tests are about to go down. This Bulge comes in, technically it's one flavor because there's 2 options, but the one flavor is the Red Russian raspberry flavor, which for those of you who are familiar with Faction Labs Disorder is the same Red Russian flavor that's used in Disorder, so it's going to stack nicely with that. It also comes in what Faction Labs are calling Plain Jane. which is your unflavored version, which obviously can be stacked with any flavor pre-workout if you choose to stack it, which is really good. I like seeing unflavored in pump-based stim-free formulas for that stackability purpose. You know what? For the purposes of the taste and mixability test, there's no point tasting an unflavored, so I'm just going to go the Red Russian. Got myself a brand spanking fresh new tub of this Faction Labs Bulge. I like how Faction Labs do that on the lids there as well. They got a little branding going on. I bro punched this bitch in, guys, but I know how full these tubs are, and I don't want to fuck up the filming studio with Bulge all over the place. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna very carefully peel the lid off here, and you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's pretty much right to the top. In terms of the scoop size, a scoop, on the panel, a heaped scoop is what Faction Labs are recommending for this Red Russian flavor, is supposed to weigh 12.5 grams. I can tell you guys that a heaped scoop that looks pretty much like that, it's not really heaped, it's more like a rounded scoop, is pretty much bang on 12.5 grams. So they've done a really good job with that scoop size. Just remember, it's not like if you're gonna go heap scoop like that sort of heap scoop, that's gonna be way too much. It's more like a rounded scoop is gonna get you to 12.5 grams. Got our MJ shaker ready to go with 400 mils of water. Got our infamous double wall glass ready to go. I am going to follow these instructions here. It says mix 1 scoop in 400 to 500 mil of water. What I've been doing, guys, when I've been using the full 2 scoop dose, is I fill my MJ shaker right up to the top, which is about 800 mil of water, and I throw 2 scoops in there. So we're going to half that for the purposes of taste and mixability. We've got 400 mils of water in the MJ shaker. We're going to take ourselves 1 rounded scoop of the Faction Labs Bulge, throw this bitch in this bitch, and let it rain, let it rain. There's my lid. There's my lid. Throw the lid on, a few flicks of the wrist. I'm gonna show you guys how this Bulge mixes. And now I'm gonna refresh my memory on how this red raspberry flavor tastes me. I'm gonna put the lid back on the Bulge with my other hand. All right, that's enough. Guys, check it. Bulge, red raspberry, mixability test. You'll notice a couple of things, right? You can see in the shaker straight away that it does froth up a little bit, and you can see as I pour it into the glass that there is a little bit of froth. That does dissipate pretty quickly. The one thing that will happen if I leave this sitting here is you do get some sediment down the bottom. I think it's probably the creatine. It could be the creatine and the glycerol combined, but you are going to get some sinkers down there because of that. And also because of the fact that it's a pre-workout, man, and you're going to be using the shaker. Turbo Ball is required for this here Faction Labs Bulge. Let me refresh my memory on how the Red Russian tastes, man. Mm. Guys, listen, Faction Labs is an Australian-based supplement company, and therefore I can use this term with authority. When it comes to their flavors, they are not here to fuck spiders. Disorder, I think, is now up to 13 flavors, and they are all ridiculous. And Faction Labs have not skipped a beat when it's come to the flavoring of this Bulge as well. The Red Russian is so fucking good. It is. There's no other way I can put it. It is just absolutely delicious. I mean, I would drink that shit all day. It's not too sweet. It's not too strong. It's just a real, it almost tastes like, you know what it tastes like? All of my Australian viewers will understand this. It tastes like Coddy's Red Cordial. It's probably the best way I can put it. It literally tastes like Coddy's Red Cordial. It is delicious. And nostalgic as well. It brings back a little bit of childhood. Nailed the Red Russian. I will also comment on the Plain Jane flavor because I have been using this flavor every now and again when I've been stacking it with a very strongly flavored pre-workout. This is a true unflavored as well. You know how sometimes companies are like, yeah, this is unflavored and it tastes fucking weird. This is unflavored. There's really no flavor to it. It is going to stack with whatever flavor pre-workout you want to stack it with, and it's not going to fuck up the flavor of that particular pre-workout. So the Red Russian, amazing raspberry flavor. The Plain Chain, a very well done unflavored version. In terms of the effects, this is what you've all been waiting for, ain't it? All right, let me talk about the 4 effects first and foremost. The pumps on the Bulge are really, really good. Really, really good. It is the sort of stim-free, pump-focused pre-workout that you would take just for the pumps. Very good, very strong, come on very quickly. The combination of the citrulline and the glycerol, you feel the muscle volume. The pumps are exceptional, first and foremost. The power is okay. You definitely notice an increase in power. I guess coming from other stim-free pre-workouts that I've used where there's been a lot of synergism happening, there's been creatine plus, betaine plus, Elevate ATP or Peak ATP or something like that. It doesn't stack up against those, but you do notice a noticeable increase in muscle power. So I'm going to say that the increase in muscle power is quite good. The endurance is almost non-existent. That is definitely the one downfall of this area. When I have trained on 2 scoops of Bulge and 2 scoops of Bulge alone, when I get to about the 45, 50 minute mark of my pre-workout, I just feel like I'm done. So the endurance is pretty much non-existent in the Bulge. And you kind of expect that looking at that formula. There's only so much taurine and electrolyte balance is going to do, and there's no real ingredient in there that's going to go over and above that and kind of push your body out of the state of homeostasis to really increase the muscular endurance. The elevation in mood is very, very good, but you definitely notice that it's not balanced by an increase in mental focus. You guys know when you train on those pre-workouts that have that really nice synergism and you feel really good, but you also feel really dialed in. With the Bulge, you feel really good, but there's kind of no purpose to it, if that makes sense. You know, you want to feel good and you want to go crush the fucking weights as well. You know what I'm saying? That's the feeling that you want. The elevation in mood and the feeling of well-being is there with the Bulge. It just really, in my personal opinion, needs to be balanced with something for mental focus, and there is really nothing in here that is going to promote that mental focus. So, all in all, my experience with the Bulge, I think as a standalone stim-free pre-workout, it leaves a lot to be desired. I have stacked it on many occasions as a way of increasing particularly the pumps of whatever pre-workout I'm training on, and as a pump increasing stackable pre-workout, it's very, very good. I've stacked it with a bunch of different stimulant-based pre-workouts. I've stacked it with stim-free pre-workouts as well, just to add more pumps. And for that purpose, it's really fucking good. So I think that that's probably where most of you are going to get the best bang for your buck out of this Bulge. I think if you're looking at it as a complete stim-free pre-workout, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed when it comes to particularly the muscular endurance and that overall nootropic effect. That being said, you can train on it by itself and you are going to get the increase in pumps, the increase in power, the feeling of well-being in there as well. In terms of the side effects of this Bulge, nothing really to note here. As we mentioned, there's no agmatine in there that you have to be, worried about having too much of. Really no side effects that I have personally experienced having trained on this for the last couple of weeks. In terms of stackability, because I did mention I have stacked this with a lot of different pre-workouts, the one thing that you need to be a little conscious of is the amount of tyrosine in the Bulge. There is 3,000 milligrams of L-tyrosine. When it comes to these nootropic ingredients that boost mood and boost a feeling of well-being, guys, there is a little bit of a bell-shaped curve. When you start getting too much of these precursors to L-dopa, too much of these precursors to dopamine, it can kind of push you over the edge of that bell-shaped curve, and you can almost kind of start feeling a little bit worse about it. So if you are going to stack it, with another stim-free pre-workout or a stim-based pre-workout that also has a lot of tyrosine or N-acetyl-L-tyrosine or mucuna that yields L-dopa, anything that works on that dopamine pathway, you're probably going to want to be a little bit careful. Maybe you do 1 scoop of Bulge and 1 scoop of that pre-workout instead of 2 and 2 or 1 and 2. It's just something to be aware of. That being said, apart from that, it stacks very, very well. I haven't had any crossovers of ingredients where there's been too much. It's a very versatile, very stackable pre-workout. What does it compare to? So on one hand here, guys, I'm gonna take a stim-free pre-workout that's very focused on pumps as well, and that's gonna be Cutler Amplify. On the other hand, I'm gonna show you how it stacks up to a complete stim-based pre-workout that hits all those 4 effects, and that's going to be Primabolics Grind and other Australian supplements. Let's start with Cutler Amplify. The Bulge pumps are slightly better than Amplify. The Bulge Power is not quite as good as Amplify. Amplify is a little better when it comes to muscle power than the Bulge. The endurance is about the same across both. Both of them have really nothing in there specifically for muscular endurance. So I think the endurance effect is kind of the same because in both of them it's non-existent. The mood in Bulge is better than Amplify, for sure. Amplify doesn't really have anything nootropic in there at all, and both of them don't have anything for mental focus, so they're kind of equal in that regard as well. Less flavors than Amplify. We only have the 2 flavors, or 1 flavor and 1 unflavored in the Bulge, whereas Amplify has 3 flavors and 1 unflavored. That being said, Bulge is $5 cheaper than Amplify. So those 2 products really kind of match up quite well against each other because they are both stim-free, pump power focused pre-workouts. When we look at Grind on the other end of the spectrum, which is a complete stim-based complete stim-free pre-workout, the pumps are not quite as good as Grind. The power is not quite as good as Grind. The endurance is definitely not as good as Grind. The mood is slightly better, but Grind does a better job of balancing mental focus with mood. So I think the nootropic effect is not quite as good as Grind. Grind really does a good job with that. There's less flavors than Grind, only 2 in the Bulge, 4 in the Grind. That being said, Grind does not have an unflavored version, and Bulge is $10 cheaper than Grind. So when you compare it to a complete stim-based pre-workout, it really kind of doesn't really stack up, but it's not as expensive as well. So this kind of leads me to who is this product best for? Guys, I think if you're looking for a stim-free pre-workout for, let's say you train at night, let's say you want to cycle off stimulants, let's say you just want a break from stimulants for whatever reason, and you want a pump and power focused stim-free pre-workout, I think that Bulge is going to get you there as well. If you want endurance, mental focus, mood, and that effect is probably not going to be the pre-workout that you're after, but if pumps and power are the most important to you, it definitely ticks that box. I think really where this Bulge kind of comes into its own is if you want to throw a pump-focused, stackable stim-free pre-workout in your pre-workout supplement pantry to boost the pumps, to boost the power on those days where you want those effects from your workout, and you're looking for something that you can easily stack in an unflavored version as well, that's really where Bulge kind of comes into its own. I think that's where most of you are going to get the best results from Bulge, is as a stackable stim-free pre-workout. Finally, price and value for money. This is somewhere else where this product really comes into its own, guys. $59.95. That's 59 with a 5 in front. $59.95 for the 40 scoops, 20 serves. That comes out at $1.50 per scoop, $3 per 2-scoop serve. It is hands down the best value for money, stim-free, pump and power focused pre-workout on the Australian marketplace today. Everything else starts at $69.95 and goes up from there. So Faction Labs have come in $10 cheaper. And I think that really plays into that stackability. Have this in your pre-workout supplement pantry for those days where you want to pump up the pumps and you want to pump up the power. Guys, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to the MassiveJoes YouTube channel. Don't forget to turn your post notifications on your mobile, your cell phone, your desktop PC, your smart TV. and whatever other device you're watching this video on, guys, so you don't miss a beat when it comes to everything we've got happening here on the channel, including all these new raw reviews, guys. That is MassiveJoes' raw review on the all-new Faction Labs Bulge in the house. And I'm coming to you from MassiveJoes.com. Stay massive.
Thank you for tuning into this video. We hope you enjoyed watching. Don't forget to check out our latest upload and our recommended video, and be sure to subscribe to the MassiveJoes YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our latest uploads.